What's up guys, my name is Tristan from the CPAPstore.ca. Today we're looking at the ResMed AirSense 11 CPAP AutoSet machine. I think it comes in the Elite model as well, which is just the CPAP only version. Don't let the word Elite fool you. It's the base model, I guess you could say, of this machine. 95% of the time, if you're out in the wild, you're gonna see the AutoSet machine. It's what we recommend to most people. Now, of course, if you're just starting out, the word CPAP is kind of like the umbrella term, but there's basically three types of pressure modes, you could say, with these machines. CPAP is just continuous pressure, so one pressure. APAP is auto pressure, so it'll fluctuate depending on what you need. Bi-level pressure is two different pressures for inhale and exhaling that fluctuate constantly throughout the night. That you're gonna need an AirCurve 11, which is similar to this, but it has BiPAP mode as well built in. The reason why I'm saying that is because when you're going to buy this machine, you should know the difference between an AutoSet machine and an Elite machine, because chances are you're gonna have an APAP pressure range as part of your prescription when you're first starting out. Now this machine here is a little bit lighter, a little bit smaller than the AirSense 10, about, I think it's like 20% smaller, 10% lighter. You know, it's not gonna be that noticeable on your bedside. If you are traveling, that might be kind of a factor to take into account, because it is a little bit more of a sleeker design and easier to fit in your suitcases and whatever when you're traveling. But when you add a mask to this, a tube, the power supply, all that jazz, the weight savings is not a ton, okay? But it is a little bit smaller for those interested. Now to carry on with some other quick specs, it's a little bit quieter. I think ResMed says that they're about the same, AirSense 10, AirSense 11, but in my experience, it's a tiny bit quieter than the AirSense 10, so that's also a plus. It also uses less power than the AirSense 10. It's not a big difference, but when you're using a machine like this on a battery, I'm getting about 2 hours more runtime on an AirSense 11 than an AirSense 10. So if you're gonna do any camping, or you just need to know what's more power efficient, it's not gonna change really your electricity bill at home, but that extra hour, extra half an hour, extra 2 hours might actually be important when you're using a battery. So this guy is a little bit better in that regard as well. Now, one more change before we walk around this machine is just the tube from the AirSense 10. The AirSense 10 has an L-shaped tube, where the newer AirSense 11 has a straight tube. Some people like the L-shaped tube better because it can sit a little flusher on your wall. So the AirSense 10 does have that going for it, but I like the AirSense 11 tube better because it is quite a bit easier to clean. You can run a tube brush just through that very easily. Okay, now let's walk through the machine here. It looks subjective. I'm not going to go into that and waste your time. We have a touch screen up here. It's maybe 2.5 inches touchscreen. It's good enough. Those with dexterity issues might still prefer the knob from the AirSense 10, but for the most part, the touchscreen is very easy to use. It's just like a smartphone. If you're comfortable using a smartphone, you should be pretty comfortable using this. Other than that, we have the power button. That's your physical button to start and stop the machine, which is very easy to find. It's like rubber where everything else is plastic, so you can easily feel it. On the side here, we have the SD card slot, so you can record your data onto an SD card and put it into a third-party software like Oscar if you want to look at your own CPAP data. On the back here, we have the place for the filter, so you can just take this out and replace this filter I think it's like every month. They say every month, maybe every 2 months for most people is a good amount of time. We have your power slot cable going there, and then we have where you connect your tube out back. Okay, now this tube, of course, is a humidity tube or a heated tube, meaning that you are going to be able to have humid, moist air going through the tube to make it a little more comfortable. For ResMed, they call it the Climate Line Air tube. Okay, so if you're buying this machine, you're going to look for the Climate Line Air 11 tube when you need to replace it. On the side here, we have the water chamber. Now this water chamber is the same size as the AirSense 10, and that's 380 milliliters. It's pretty easy to open. You can just open it straight like this. ResMed says that they fixed the water leaking issues seen in the AirSense 10, but honestly, with enough time, enough heat, all water chambers can leak eventually, and therefore, you will have to replace your water chamber eventually. Okay, so you put distilled water in here, you slide it into your machine, and you have humid air, okay? Now let's quickly talk about some connectivity things with this machine. It has Bluetooth, so it's gonna be using Bluetooth to connect with your My Air app. That's ResMed's app on the phone. The MyAir app is pretty simplistic, but it's gonna give you like a sleep score and tell you a little bit about your AHI throughout the night. If you want like full data, okay, it also has a cellular modem built in, so that's gonna send it to the cloud where your AirView is taken. So if you buy it from a clinic or you buy it from us, you can set it up with AirView. And then we can, you would have to contact us or your supplier or whatever, and they can print out those reports for you or send them to you. Or you can ask for them to be sent to the doctor. So that's how that works with the cellular. Or if you want the data yourself, like I said, you can put your SD card in here. Then it's gonna record all your data onto the SD card. Then you unplug it, you can put it into your computer or you can give it to your doctor, and then you can access the data in that way as well. Now, because of that, ResMed also is able to give this machine updates just remotely. So if they come up with a new update, they realize that their algorithm could be improved, they can send that to your machine. You'll have to maybe restart and kind of download that, but it can get those updates just over the air. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about is just overall build quality. To just be completely honest with you, the AirSense 11 just feels better in terms of build quality compared to pretty much any other CPAP machine on the market right now. The ones from Amazon don't stand a chance. And the Philips DreamStation 2, yeah, it's light, but it's not light because it feels like it's made out of titanium and carbon fiber or something like that. It feels light because it feels super, super cheap, okay? This guy here feels very good and robust in the hand, and I just feel like the quality is there. Okay, so now let's dive into the software. So I'm gonna touch this machine here. You're gonna see the screen. I'm gonna take 2 fingers, hold them down, and you're gonna see that you get to the clinical home menu. Now, if I cover, if I do that over here and I cover the light sensor, you might see that the screen is gonna dim. So if you're seeing that and you're like, why can't I see the screen? It's probably because you have your hand above that light sensor. So let me remove that. And there we go, back to daytime mode. Okay, so if we look at settings here, we're gonna see quite a few modes here. So we're gonna look at the mode and we're gonna see AutoSet, CPAP, AutoSet, and AutoSet for her. CPAP is continuous pressure, AutoSet is the range, and AutoSet for her is just a different algorithm set more for women clients because they may have I think they have a slightly shallower breathing pattern, so it's kind of more geared towards that. I'm just gonna click AutoSet right now and click OK. Now you're gonna see a pressure range. So if you have a prescription from your doctor and the doctor says they recommend 10 through 14, that's what you're gonna click, and you're just gonna click OK, and it is that simple. Now let's go into comfort. So you're gonna see AutoSet response. That is soft or standard. Soft is a little more gentle of an algorithm. Now I always say that because an AutoSet algorithm or an APAP algorithm is always responsive, meaning that you have to have an apnea first before it starts ramping up that pressure. I like to keep it at standard because I think it's a little more responsive versus soft mode, which might be a little more gentler and a little more comfortable, but at the same time, it might not be ramping up as quickly as you need it. Okay, moving on here, we have the ramp time. So that's gonna be the amount of time it takes to get to your prescribed pressure. So you can have that at auto. So when you fall asleep, it's gonna go to that pressure, but I'm just gonna put it at 10 minutes, for example, and click OK. Pretty simple. You have your starting pressure, so you might want to start at 4 because that's nice and low. So it's going to be super, super comfortable. And over time, over that 10 minutes, it's going to go from 4 to a 10. Now, the reason why that 10's there is because, like I said, our prescribed pressure is 10 to 14. So it's taking 10 minutes to get to that pressure. Okay, now let's go to EPR. Now, EPR is a comfort setting. So you can turn it on and off like that. If you turn it off here, your pressure is always going to be 10 to 14. But if you turn it on, it's going to actually decrease the expiratory pressure below what you had it set at. So for example, if you have an EPR of 2, right there, 2, then at a 10 pressure, it's going to give you a 10 pressure on your inhale and an 8 pressure on your exhale, which means that it's going to be a little more comfortable to exhale. Why? Because 10 minus 2 equals 8, okay? Now, if I change it to 3, which is gonna give you an even more comfortable exhale, you're gonna have a 7 pressure when you exhale. So 10 minus 3 equals 7. Therefore, EPR helps you kind of exhale a little more comfortably, but it does decrease the pressure a little bit. So your physician might, tell you to use it or not use it, or you might just wanna test it yourself. Okay, we have climate control here. It has auto, manual, auto mode, okay. We have tube temperature, you can do it off, auto, or whatever temperature you like. If I disconnect the climate air out of the back, then it disappears, and we're gonna see our tube just goes from standard to slimline. So standard is a thicker tube, 22 millimeters. Slimline is a slimmer tube, okay? Most people nowadays are buying and selling and using slimline tubes. For mask settings, we have pillows, full face, nasal. You might wanna Google which setting you need. It doesn't actually matter too much, but it does help the machine a little bit. For example, F20 mask is a full face mask, so you're gonna click full face, but an F40 mask, which is also a full face mask, uses pillows. Don't ask me why, that's just how those masks are set up based on the mask flexibility and how the kind of air flows through the mask. Gonna click OK there. Moving down, we have BV filter. That stands for bacterial viral filter. So that might be something that you need. It's very rare. Just those who are like immune compromised need an additional filter between the tube and the mask. Okay, most people are going to keep that off. Patient view. We have advanced here. I think everyone should click advanced. It's going to give you more data. You know, but more data you have without going into the clinical menu is the better. Now, I don't know if I should say this, but your clinic might keep it at simple there. So anytime you need help, you have to go drive back to the store and get help because only they can access the data. But if you click advanced, you're going to get a little more data yourself, and you're going to be able to take advantage of, you know, using your machine and learning CPAP by yourself. So I'm gonna keep it at advanced because more data the better, or more access to data the better. Okay. Now you have smart start, smart stop. So that basically is an auto start stop feature. If I click this on, for example, if I breathe into the mask, the machine's automatically going to start. If I click this on and I stop breathing, it's automatically going to stop. I like to have both off and just use the button at the top. I think it's the easiest. Care check-in, you can turn that on. That's basically gonna, you know, prompt you with questions periodically throughout the week, throughout the month when you're starting therapy on both the machine and the app to help, you know, see how you're doing with CPAP therapy, and maybe it might have some suggestions and stuff like that. So I'm gonna take that off. It's kind of like online coaching through the machine, but it's like pretty minimal. And then you got some reminders for mask changes, filter changes, and all your time zone stuff like that, okay? Click exit there. You have sleep view, that's gonna have all this clinician data, okay? But now that we've clicked that advanced, I'll go back to it. Now that we click the advanced view, okay, here for patient view, if we actually go back home to the normal menu and we click my sleep view and I scroll down, you're gonna have all that data. So you don't have to rely on the clinic, you know, charging you $100 an hour to see what your AHI is. You can just look down here and see your AHI yourself. So that's kind of the benefit of learning how to use the clinical menu yourself, is you can just get a lot more data yourself. It's a little more convenient for you. So that right there is the clinical menu and how to change pressure. Now, if you want to just go into the normal menu, you're gonna see all the settings that you put into the clinical menu are still there, okay? Some stuff you can change, you know, like pressure relief. Pressure relief is EPR, right? You can still change your start stop in the normal patient menu, but I always like to go to the clinical menu myself when I'm changing pressures or any settings, just so I can be, you know, all in one place and change everything all in one place, okay? Now, if I click more here, you're gonna see some more features. Warm up, you know, it's gonna be able to warm up the machine when you're gonna use it. So I'm gonna turn that off because I don't need it right now. Mask fit, that is basically a fitting feature. So you can put your tube, your mask on, you can click start. It's gonna start blowing air. You might hear it. As you can see, because I have no mask detected, it's a high leak. So that means that, you know, it's not a good mask. So you'd have to adjust your mask and try it again, or in this case, plug in your mask and tube in the first place. A bunch of other stuff here. We have your, you know, your MyAir app, so you can connect your MyAir app through your phone, Bluetooth. This is your oximeter here. So if you have a wearable that's compatible with the ResMed device that shows you, you know, how much oxygen you have in your blood, you can pair that here, okay? Okay, and then you have some more device features like airplane mode and stuff like that. I'm not gonna go into every single thing there, but that is kind of just a quick walk around review of the screen and how to use the ResMed interface. Okay, so that's about it for the menus. Let's talk about final thoughts real quick. Overall reliability. ResMed is very reliable. One thing that I don't like about ResMed is the right to repair aspect of it. It's not great, so I wish they had some options to repair certain areas of the machine better, but they just don't. What's going on here? Okay, so as you can see, device upgrade in progress. So it looks like it's doing a little bit of a device upgrade as we speak, which I just talked about, the cellular data, the over-the-air updates. It just happened. Okay, so back to what I was talking about is, yeah, like I would like to see that there's an easier way to, maybe fix the turbine yourself and have a little more rights to repair with the ResMed AirSense 11. Other than that, though, it is a very reliable machine. It's probably the most reliable one on the market, and I think it's the best one. Next thing is, if you do want to make it maybe more reliable, the one thing I could suggest is using the hypoallergenic filters. So there's two filters that you can get with the machine, the standard and the hypoallergenic. The hypoallergenic does filter a little more dust. Might be better for you, but also better for the machine as well. One of the things that breaks down these machines over time, clogs the turbine and stuff inside the machine is just dust. So if you are using a filter that filters out a little more dust, let's say 20% more dust, then there's 20% less dust in there, and it's going to be working for a little bit longer. So hypoallergenic filters, I do recommend them. I think they're worth the extra few bucks. And then pricing, the last thing is you might see this machine at a clinic, and that might be charging $2,000–$3,000 in Canada. You might see it online for maybe $1,500 and stuff like that. What's with the price difference? Well, I like to just say it's very similar to buying bottle service at a club in Vegas. A bottle of wine or vodka at a Vegas nightclub is probably $500 to $1,000. The same bottle of vodka at your liquor store is $50. What are you paying for? You're paying for them to suggest the bottle, bring it out to you on a silver platter, open up the bottle for you, pour you the glass. Stuff you can do yourself, but it's nice to have in the club. It's the same thing with the CPAP machines. Buying a CPAP machine from a clinic is very similar to buying a bottle at bottle service. They bring you the machine, they go into the clinical settings for you, they make it look a little complicated. Okay, we can do this for you, blah, blah, blah. But most people can read their prescription and just put it in themselves. They can save a couple grand, okay? And then the last thing I want to talk about pricing is that if you do log into the e-commerce company, the website of your choosing, I'm going to suggest you buy from the cpapstore.ca, but you don't have to, of course. Whether in the US or Canada, if you log into whatever website you're using, you're going to get a better price. That is because, just like Apple and all the big brands, ResMed controls pricing policies. So there's a minimum advertising price policy that we can showcase. So when you log into your account, we can offer you better discounts. And when you do that, you're gonna see the prices drop a ton. So that's how you get the best prices on these machines, whether you buy from us or probably other sellers as well. Login online stores. Okay, so I think that wraps up this video. I hope it wasn't too long-winded. Please subscribe or like the video if you found this tutorial review useful or helpful. Take care, guys. Have a good day.